Why Fort Knox are different than other safes?
Well, the first thing is that Fort Knox is going to give you more steel, more fire protection, and you get a lot more features with your Fort Knox product than any of the others. In this product right here, you get a light granite finish, you get your black chrome handle and accents, but this particular safe is set up with 100 notches, so you can put 100 long guns in there. You get your cold smoke seal, you get your expandable Palisol seal, and then with the products, we always finish the products as well. So you have your shelving, but then you also have your square tubing underneath your shelving to give you extra support.
You can also get plywood shelves, correct?
Absolutely. Get plywood, press board, whichever. One of the things that Fort Knox is very famous for many years is our corner bolt design. We've got a new door design, so the corner bolt itself has been changed. It's more of a thick sword shape, gives us a lot more surface area to tighten into the door. All of the mechanisms are gear driven. You've got your relocking systems. You've also got a cabled remote relocking system. And then one of the biggest things that sets us apart from everybody else is the cross section of the door and how the door is built. Most of your composite door systems have a thin piece of metal that just wraps around a piece of sheetrock, so you have one and there's no secondary steel behind it.
And this is a little deceiving because you're showing a Fort Knox section here. When I've seen the composite doors, we're talking barely bigger than tin can type of sheet.
Absolutely.
Not this, what is this, 10 gauge?
This is 10 gauge, and then we start with a minimum of a 1/4 inch plate. We can go up to a 1/2 inch plate back here as well. But you're right, you know, when you sit there and start looking at some of your imports, some of the box stores, you can grab the safe, rattle it, you can, if you grab the handle or even sometimes the corner of the door, you can watch them flex because there's no steel in it.
Right, and then they just fill it with drywall or something to make it look thick.
Correct.
And it looks like you've got the 10 gauge on the outside, then your fire protection, then your big piece of security steel, so this is isolated from fire, so you're not running into a risk of attack after fire.
Correct. Plus you get your extra piece coming all the way around, so you get 3 pieces of steel on the pryable edge of the door. So it's a great way to go.
And then what you show here, it's kind of nice too, because a lot of times people just show this outside. This whole area here is where all these gears and mechanism are, which adds nothing to the security at all to the safe.
Correct.
Of course, you guys put a 10 gauge piece of steel here, where other people will put a little bit less steel as well. But
and a lot of those other manufacturers, they'll call this a 5-inch composite door.
Exactly. And making you think that there's 5 inches of steel or something.
Correct, and it's just from the outside to the inside of that the mechanism cavity.
It's basically
there.
hollow.
Right.
Now, when you're talking about the side of a safe, same issue. If they're just going to put two layers of like 12 gauge, even with some drywall, or pour something in there.
Right. It's still very thin metal.
Right.
We go, and with Fort Knox, you know, a lot of times you can. A lot of the other manufacturers, I call it a value meal. You go buy a safe and it's going to come one way and one way only.
Right.
With Fort Knox, you can do a lot of different things. You can increase the body thickness up to a 1/4 inch thick. You can do multiple layers of steel on the inside up to a 1/2 inch thick. You can really customize the Fort Knox product to get exactly what you're after. You can do an inside hinge like this. You can do an outside hinge. You can also do the right side or a left side hinge, either way. This is brand new for Fort Knox. A lot of people are concerned today with an electromagnetic pulse wiping out the electronics. They like the quickness and the speed of the electronics, but there's not an answer on the market today until now. This is what's called a redundant lock with Fort Knox. You have one lock box, 2 ways to access it. So you have your electronics or you have your dial. So if your electronics get wiped out with that electromagnetic pulse, you've always got your dial as a backup. Great way to go, and it's not that expensive to do.
Awesome. And I suppose this gives you, you've invested the money in a security system like this. You've got the lights and it's all decked out inside. Now you're encouraged to open it and close it as often as you'd like. You know, it could be a feature of the room.
Sure.
Open it up, show everybody, and then lock it up securely when necessary with the dial. And
absolutely.
Awesome.
And the other new feature this year for Fort Knox is all of the Fort Knox safes are now coming with a plug system.
Sweet.
So if you've got watch winders, you want to put your computer, something like that in there, you've got access for electricity.
And you're not trying to use the small hole that sometimes people give you one of these safes and try to open it with a You got the cord already ready to go.
Yeah, the cord's already ready to go. The question a lot of people ask that way is, how does that react with fire? In a fire setting, you've got to have like a draw and a release, just like your fireplaces. And with the door sealing shut, there's no release. So there's not going to be any draw fire-wise, heat-wise, out of that hole that the electrical comes into.
Now, I noticed that you do have some of these lockbox solutions, and you guys do a whole different take on those as well.
Sure, this is brand new. This is what we're calling our cab box, our controlled access. We have a lot of people ask for something inside. You're going to have multiple people getting in and out of the safe, but they want to have something with a little bit of more security inside so that they can put something extra in. So this is just a controlled access. It's not fire line, but it just that extra layer of security.
Sure. For jewelry or small expensive
or cash. You know, you know, you don't want somebody to see if they're opening the safe. Your cash in there. One last fun feature
that's pretty neat
that we're doing is you've got a new cabinet system set up that you can put inside your safes. So you've got a drawer system for jewelry, coins, whatever. That way that you've got 3 trays that can come out.
I wish we had smell-o-vision. That smells great. That safe with that wood smell.
You've got your drawer systems that come out. Then you also have a file system that can come out and put files in as well.
And again, we should mention these. We're at a gun show here, but this isn't necessarily for just firearms. If you've got documents and things, Fort Knox is pretty decent on your fire protection. You don't fart around with putting up real long times with real low temperatures. You guys go with both 90 minutes and high temperature, so you cover all the bases. Not that anything's fireproof, but
right. Yeah, I mean, you know, your average house fire is going to be between 1,100 degrees. Your average house will be down in about 45 minutes to an hour if it's not checked by a fire department. So with us, we always try to over-engineer things. So you've got 1,680 degrees, hour and a half for your papers and documents. So it should be well beyond any kind of fire situation.
And then again, back to guns, with all these polymer guns, it might be great if your safe saves the barrels, but like to have our Glocks still work when they're done.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think most people, if you're interested in safes at all, you've seen that video that you guys have playing right over here where they drop the safe down into the burning house and the Glock is still fine after all of that.
Right. Yeah.
Awesome. Made in USA up in Salt Lake City?
Made in the USA.
Outside of Salt Lake City?
South of Salt Lake in Orem, Utah.
Awesome.
Since 1982.
So U.S. steel, U.S. workers, U.S. truckers delivering it to your house, U.S. installers.
Exactly.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. Really appreciate it. Have a great show.
Thanks.
The guys and gals of GunWebsites.com encourage you to take a CCW class every year, practice at least once a month, and carry every day. Thanks for watching GunWebsites.com.